Hey guys, I wanted to make a quick video about how to clean one of these mini split units. I'm going to start by opening it up. I'll give you a little tour of the thing first and kind of see what's going on. Now, this thing is just covered with mold. That's the fan blade inside, and you can see the chunks of mold. A lot of mold on these fins. So you're gonna pop these out. And this just comes out by pulling. It's hard. A little hard one-handed. There we go. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna remove this screw, and this screw. And there are, we're gonna remove these fins. I'll show you how to do that. And then there's a couple of screws down here. There's a screw under here and a screw under here. All right, so to remove these fins, you can either use your fingernail or you can use a tool to flip this to the left. There's two on each, so there's two little clips on each fin. And you have to slide it to the left on this side and to the right on this side. I'm gonna try to show you how to do this one-handed. So now you can really see in there, and you can see all that mold on the blade. All right, so the goal is to get that out of there so that we can wash it, pressure wash it, and treat it. All right, so we've got the fins off. I'm gonna remove these little tabs right here that are covering the screws. You just use a little thumb pressure or finger pressure. You can see the screw underneath. These two screws hold in the catch reservoir and the these fins. Now, my mini splits had a type of grate covering this space. I think it was like a safety grate so that people don't put their fingers in there. And I cut that off to make cleaning easier because I found that the grate was trapping a lot of mold. So just to make cleaning easier and to make this process easier, I used a pair of wire snips and I cut it off. You just kind of pull back right here, and then I usually pull down, and that comes off. So we're gonna try to pull straight back on this piece to break it loose. It's got clips in the back up top. You can see in this area, it slips in to the back plate. There's no screws, but it is a pretty tight fit, so it can be hard to do one-handed. I'm gonna try to pop it loose here. Okay. Okay, wow. All right, so got the whole thing off. It's easier to do two-handed. Doing it one-handed is a little tricky. I just wanted to show you guys for the video, but you can see everything is exposed now. Got a good view of the fan blade. Again, the goal is to get at that fan blade, so the next step is going to be removing this condensation catch tray. It's caught on this piece right here that I forgot to take out. So this center piece just snaps out. Okay. So this piece right here, I forgot to remove. It just clips in. It's kind of like just like a cover, just kind of hides this kind of foam covering right there, and then this just drops down. All right. So it is okay for this to just dangle freely. This piece right here just popped loose. There's another piece right here that you can remove. Sometimes it comes off, sometimes it doesn't. It's not critical to remove that. It's okay that that comes off. Now that this is out of the way and you can see all the mold growing underneath here on these fins, pretty nasty. You know, obviously all the mold in here and on the fan. So to remove the fan, we've got to get this out of the way, because this is where the fan attaches. This is like a little axle that it spins on. This radiator is attached by 3 screws, 2 here and 1 up there. So we're gonna undo those right now. All right, so now that the screws are removed, this whole unit, be careful of this, by the way, these are very sharp. It's a good idea to wear gloves. My gloves are soaking wet from cleaning one of the other units. So anyway, these are really sharp, so be careful. Now that the screws are removed, it just pulls straight out, okay? And now you can lift this off. Now there's a screw over here we're gonna be removing. Let me try to get a good shot of that. So it's hard to see. Inside there's a screw that we're gonna be removing. That screw is holding the unit on to the drive rod or axle, whatever you call it. So we're gonna remove that, but I just wanna show you guys that this can just be lifted off. Okay, so that just dropped right off of there. It's a little rubber gasket. This is now kind of dangling. So I'm going to grab a screwdriver, a Phillips head screwdriver, and I'm gonna remove this screw. I need 2 hands to do it, so I'll show you guys after I take it off. This is the screw that holds the fan blade on. I just use the Phillips head to remove it. Try not to lose this screw. It's easy to drop it as you're taking it out of the fan. So try to be aware of that, and just try to be mindful not to drop it and lose it. So this part's a little tricky. Probably the hardest part is trying to get this out. What I do is, with this radiator, kind of pulled as far to the right as I can get it, or as far out away from the wall as I can get it. I put one hand here on this end and I pull this way, and then I'm gonna use my other hand to reach in here. And it's good to have gloves on, because this is not only dirty, but it's pretty sharp. And I'm going to pull to the left. So I'm gonna use 2 hands. I'm gonna stop the video because I need to use 2 hands to do this, but it's a pretty forceful pull, and you just kind of, you know, I just kind of yank it to the left, and it usually pops free. All right, we're outside. We're gonna use a hose with, I've got pretty good water pressure, so I've found that a hose with like a jet type stream will be enough pressure to remove all this stuff. Just got done cleaning it. You guys can see how much cleaner it is. I'm gonna do a little more. I'm gonna touch it up a little more, but you guys get the idea. These screens are really easy to clean. I just flip them over this way, and then I'm just gonna use the hose. When I've cleaned the units in the past, I've used bleach and water mix, but this year I'm gonna try something different. I'm gonna use this product, which was recommended to me. You know, it's my understanding that it's safe. You can see here that it says It physically crushes the mold spores, and treated surfaces retain protective barrier that helps prevent the growth of mold and mildew. So that's what I'm looking for. So I'm gonna spray this fan. I'm gonna cover it and I'm gonna let it dry. And then I'm gonna treat and wipe down all of the other plastic pieces. I'm gonna clean them with this and hope that it works. So now we're going to wipe down and clean the inside of the unit. I'm going to use the mold treatment that we talked about, the mold control. I'm going to spray the inside of this. Now up in here, this is not mold. This is actually just corrosion on there. It's not mold. It might be from me spraying bleach on it over the years. So that's good. So we're going to wipe this down. We're gonna clean this. This can be a little tedious because there's a lot of mold growing in the crevices around these fins. So we're gonna clean that. All right, so it's clean now. Both of these units have been wiped down. What I'm going to do next is I'm gonna use that mold spray to just kind of coat the inside of this and all this as well, because I want to have like a protective layer of that so no mold grows. So I'm just gonna come in here and so we're gonna get ready to reinstall this. We're gonna put this rubber cap back onto this axle, and then we're going to reinsert this into the unit. And then this is going to come down here. I've got this back in place. I had to use a lot of pressure to get it to seat back on that drive motor over there. When this is positioned, before you screw it in, you want to make sure you've got enough distance on this side and enough distance on this side so that there's no contact between this and the frame, because if there is, you're going to hear a loud scraping noise when this turns on and it'll drive you crazy. So make sure there's enough distance. I can spin it. I don't hear it touching or rubbing. So we're gonna find this little opening over here, right there, and then we're gonna use the Phillips head to put that screw back in place. So this is screwed in. It's spinning smoothly. We're going to re-engage and reseat this. Okay. You can see by this little white piece poking through the frame that it is fully seated. We just need to screw it in. Remember, there's a screw up there and then 2 screws right here. So putting this bottom piece back in place is the next step, and you put the right side in first. Again, a lot easier to do with 2 hands, and you can still see some mold in there that we're gonna get after and clean in a moment. And then you push this side in. All right. Okay. So before we screw this in and close it up, we're gonna do more cleaning. All right, so that's looking much better. We've got it cleaned out as best we could. We're going to put this piece back in place. This is very easy. This just clips right in. You can see right there. All right, so that's clipped in, and now we're going to reattach the external casing. All right, so we've got it back together. We're gonna do more cleaning now. We're gonna, clean out, the dust from these cracks. This isn't mold, but it needs to get cleaned. When you're putting these outer pieces back in place, you're gonna wanna start with this large piece to the left and then finish with this piece. This piece goes on afterwards. So it's part one, part two. And this just clips in, and then we're gonna replace the screws and clean it a little more. And then after we're done cleaning it, I'm going to spray it with that mold treatment, throughout, and just let it dry. So just so you guys remember, the screws are back in place, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 external screws. And these screws are all the same length. They're longer than the 3 screws that we used inside to hold this in. So if you get the screws mixed up, just remember that the 5 screws on the outside are the longer screws. Again, we're gonna do a deep clean on the outside now. We're just gonna wipe it down. And then we're gonna coat it with the mold treatment. So putting these fins back in is pretty easy. They're labeled right and left. Obviously there's 2 on each side. The larger, thicker blade is the one that goes closest to the outside. It goes on this upper section. So I'm gonna put that in now. So these fins are all back in place. It's very easy to put those in. They're labeled as to which goes where, and you cannot put them in the wrong spot the way that they've been designed. So it's very easy. We're gonna clip this back in. This just pushes in. So we've got this all put back together. We put these little caps back in. These just clip back in to cover the screws. There's 2 of those, 1 on each side. We've got these back in place. These are super easy to put in. They're still a little wet. I've got the unit running just to dry it out. I've got it on fan mode on the lowest setting just to run some air through it. A couple things about using these is that if you're using it on a cool setting, you want to make sure you, before you turn the unit off, if you're running AC, before you turn it off, you have to turn it to a fan setting. My units, these are Mitsubishis. These do not automatically run a fan cycle after you turn off the AC. So what happens is if you have it running cold and you power it off, it will accumulate a lot of condensation and then it will get a lot of mold. So after you turn the AC off, turn it to fan and just run it on a fan setting for, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes just to dry out the inside.